name is David Kruyt. I was born in South Africa and I came to Nigeria in 2004 and I've been here now 15 years. Currently I'm the Commodore of the Lagos Yacht Club and have been so for the last 3 years. Privileged to serve the club and give back to fellow sailors what I've learned over the years. You know, Lagos or Nigeria is based in the tropics, so for any sailor that's come from either the South Africa, or up in the UK or Europe, you have different seasons. So you're limited to sailing probably half the year. And the summers are fairly short and the winters are very cold. But we're blessed in Lagos to have temperatures of around 28 to 32 degrees all year round. We have a gentle breeze which blows most afternoons. So from a sailing perspective, it's a fantastic place to sail. It's a fantastic place for fellow sailors to learn. And over the years that I've been here, I think I've seen more sailors come from not knowing anything about sailing to leaving these shores and going on sailing holidays with a family. So it's kind of been a blessing to a lot of people, the Lagos Yacht Club and sailing in general in Nigeria. The ocean's I think it's got a wonderful energy for anybody. And believe it or not, I think the ocean's called the lady or the female, and it gives you a sense of tranquility, but it also can give you a very, very big surprise if you don't respect the ocean. The ocean is something that needs to be respected. From an exercise perspective, when you're on the ocean, it's never static, it's always moving. So you have to adjust your weight, you have to pull in some ropes to make yourself go faster. So depending how quickly you want to go and how energetic you want to feel or exercise, it's up to you. But racing generally takes mind and body and spirit, so it's a kind of all-encompassing experience when you go sailing. I've been sailing since the age of 14 years old, thanks to my father, who gave me the privilege and the opportunity to have a boat and actually drive the boat from the beginning. And I've managed to sail a Hobie 16 in many world championships around the world, and I managed to come first in 1991 in one of the world championships, and basically been representing South Africa and Nigeria across the globe in different competitions. So I've been very blessed, really, in a way. And I think one of the good things is, being in Lagos, I can give my skill back to the sailors that don't have it. So I'm putting back into the sport, which is great. The water now, which is also fantastic. You know, initially the Nigerian sort of culture from the water is not really good, but we've seen a dramatic upturn in Nigerian membership wanting to get into sailing just because of exposure. You know, and a program like this promoting and showing fellow Nigerians that the water can be enjoyed in more ways than one, I think is going to be fantastic. Any sport, obviously you need to have a passion, you need to understand it. Sailing is a sport where there are components, there's the weather and the ocean, and Lagos Yacht Club does facilitate sailing clinics every quarter thanks to one of our sailing members. It is time consuming, but Lagos Yacht Club offers a temporary membership for people who want to learn to sail. So there's a 3-month membership, and if they like the sport, then they can move on to joining the club permanently and learning to sail. Obviously, the entry is sometimes inhibitive when you have to buy a boat, but there are boats for rent, which you can rent the boats. And if you've got a friend with a boat, the boat can take up to 2 extra people besides the person skippering the boat. So there's always an opportunity to get a ride with someone else too. In simple terms, we have what's called a monohull boat, which is a single hull, and then you have a class called the catamaran boat, which is a 2-hull boat. So that's evolved over time. Traditionally, the monohull has been the purest boat for sailing, and that's called the Lightning, as you mentioned. In this club, we've kind of kept to 2 main classes: the Lightning, which is the monohull, and the Hobie Cat, which is a 2-hull 16-foot catamaran. It's nice to keep the same class of boats so that we have competitive racing. because if you have different craft and different models, then there's an advantage to certain boats. So we like to keep it what we call a one design. So it's not the boat that makes the winner, it's the skill of the sailor. There are a ton of different items on the boats, from the sails to the sheet to the ropes that you pull. But in essence, it's very simple to make a boat go from A to B. But to make it go from A to B quicker than the next person, that's where the experience comes. There's two components to sailing. There's the cruising element, where people go on holiday and go from A to B and then anchor and spend the evening, sleep over, and the next morning they'll pick up anchor and cruise to another island. So that would be what I would call leisure sailing, and that's really nice and relaxed with lots of nice food and maybe some drinking beverages shared with family and friends. The racing element is obviously more competitive, and that happens either inshore, like what we have here, which we sail in a designated course. So what's called marks, we put the marks in the water about 1.5 kilometers apart, and then we'll race around those marks for a period of about 45 minutes to an hour, and that would constitute a race. And then we'll do multiple races in one day, and the winner will emerge with the person who's obviously got the lowest points, which means if you come first you get 1 point, second 2, and third 3, and so on. So that's how the racing inshore works. Then you also have offshore sailing, which is on the oceans between continents, which happens all around the world. Currently there's the Volvo Ocean Race, which is a round the world race with 5 or 6 boats that entered, and I think there's 4 or 5 left still racing. And they go from Europe all the way around South Africa, through to Thailand, through Cape Horn, up to America, and across back the Atlantic, which is challenging at the best of times. It's tough. They actually lost someone this year who fell overboard and they couldn't find him. So it's not, when you're offshore you have to be, as I said, you've got to treat the ocean with respect, but it can happen like any sport. You know, it is a challenging sport, and you know, I think you get what you put in at the end of the day for sailing. So whether you want to cruise, you want to race, you want to go down to the beach for the day, it's a wonderful sport from ages of 5 and 6 year olds right through to 95-year-olds. So you're never too old or never too young to start sailing. You know, sailing brings people together, like-minded people sometimes, otherwise people from different nationalities, so there's no segregation. The water is the common denominator, and the wind and the elements bring everyone together. So all in all, I think sailing is a wonderful sport for anybody who's interested in the ocean. What I'd love to see is less rubbish in the water, okay? I know this is an estuary and all the rivers flow down from different parts of Nigeria, but the element of rubbish is not only unique to Nigeria, it's globally. There is a lot of trash in the oceans around the world, and I reach out and I beg my fellow Nigerians, instead of throwing the rubbish in the water, let's put it in a landfill and keep the waters clean for everybody, for the fish we eat, for the enjoyment that we can have on the water. It will make life a big difference to all of us. My name is David Kruyt, and sailing is my passion.